إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Alhamdulillah, we give all praise and thanks, glorification, reverence to the one to whom it is truly due, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for bringing us here on this day of gathering, to be reminded of all of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for us to be reminded of, specifically coming from the guidance that He has sent to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the form of the illustrious Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, He mentions actually in Surah Al-Jumu'ah, He says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. He says, هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He addresses us in such a manner. And in this particular surah, it highlights a couple of things that I want to bring to our attention today, and hopefully Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow us to comprehend them, by which it will move us and motivate us to act upon what has been recited to you thus far. For many days and many months now, our beloved Imam has been talking about the youth and the family. And today, inshallah ta'ala, this is going to be an extension of that in a sense, but more so in the sense of not necessarily just the youth, but also us as the parents of the youth holding ourselves accountable of our children. But how is this connected to this great ayat? One of the things that we find in this ayat is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He announces to us and tells us that He sent a messenger to a people who was from amongst them. And this is from the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At times, oftentimes, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to address issues with His people, with His creation, He sends them a warner from amongst themselves. Because at times, we need somebody that we can relate to in order to understand the clarity of the message that is being announced. Correct? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His infinite wisdom, He sent Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as that warner, as the caller, as a messenger of that beautiful revelation that He sent down on our beloved Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, by which it mentions that when He sent him to do things. He said that He sent him as a messenger from amongst themselves, or amongst the people that he was from, to do what? هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته, to announce to them, to recite upon them, يتلو عليهم آياته, that which was revealed, the guidance that was revealed. And that guidance that was revealed, that he was told to announce and to recite and to proclaim amongst the people, these were not just words like you were reading just a flimsy magazine that you would pick up in the store. No, this was pure revelation. And this was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling him to tell the people and to announce to them what it is that he commanded. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this surah, and he said what he said, هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم, to recite to them that what? That which will do what? That which will purify them. ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب, and to teach them what? The book, how to apply it practically. This was his job. This was his nature. This is who he was. This is what he was sent for. So here we are in 2024, my brothers and sisters. And follow me. Here we are in 2024, over 1,400 years after Hijrah, where we find that this revelation is still applicable. Why? Because this is not just any speech. This is not speech from the creation. This is not just filthy conversation like you and I carry out throughout our day. This is revelation. This is a speech that came down in an articulated manner to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a way that you and I cannot explain. But Allah revealed it. And this revelance, or this revelation, it is a guidance by which, if we listen to it and we take hold of it, it will purify us. As I said, this khutbah is going to be an extension. Why? Because we have issues in our communities. Notice I didn't say community, I said communities amongst our youth. We have real issues. And my brothers and sisters, I would like to say that things are going to get better, but that's up to you and me as to what we are going to do about those issues. I'm not coming here today to hold your feet over the fire. I just want to address a few things. And remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he chose Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was an Arab from amongst the Arabs, and he told him to do what? To announce to them, to proclaim to them this message. But we also know he wasn't just sent to them, he was sent to all of humanity, of course. The point I'm trying to make is this, is that in this message, he chose a messenger from amongst the people to be able to relate to the people so that the people could understand what he was saying. Just like you and I, we are brothers, and the sisters are sisters of one another. But we are brothers. So there are things that are taking place in our communities that we can relate to, that we can address, that we can announce, that we can remind one another about. Things that doesn't bode well with trying to benefit a community to strive to be better. We have a plague amongst our youth, brothers, where our young ones are more concerned about playing games than learning about Allah. How? What is more important? Is there anything in this life or in this world that is more important than learning about the Creator? You know, and some of those brothers who come out of Jahiliyyah, who were not born in homes where they heard the alarm going off, where their fathers and mothers weren't Muslim. When they read books, and I'm one of those people, when we read those books about those companions who were surrounding the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we read about those great stories and the beauty and the light that was brought by that generation. We read about these things. And for the most part, this is a lot of the reason why we accept Islam, because of the things that we read about Islam. But then when we become Muslim, the things that we see oftentimes turns us away. It happens. If we are not purified upon that which purifies. Remember, while you him, that which will purify you from what? From the filth of disbelief, of worshiping other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, calling something else Allah or Rabb other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thinking that someone will give you benefit or bring you hope other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thinking that there's another way to follow other than the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, looking for direction and looking for a way forward from other than the two sources that we have, the Quran and the Sunnah. Remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, any one of you who after accepting, if you turn back from this way, Allah says He will replace you. But He won't just replace you with just anyone. He will replace you with those who love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who love Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who are ready to give their lives from day one. From day one. This is the age of information. There's nothing hidden. You want to know about Islam? Go to the internet, go to the books, whatever you want to go to. Islam is in every home almost now. Seriously, it's all over. There is no hiding what Islam has to offer. But yet and still, oftentimes, we like to hide our Islam because we're ashamed to be Muslim. We're ashamed to look like Muslims, to act like Muslims, to dress like Muslims, to speak like Muslims, to love one another like the Quran says that Muslims are supposed to do. وَاتَّصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Allah says, hold all of you tight to the rope of Allah and do not be divided. That is a Muslim. It is for all of us to hold on to one another, but to hold on to that which will hold us together, and that is the Quran. And the way of the Quran is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Remember, he said, وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam taught us how to apply the Quran. That's what his message was. That's what his example was. That's who he was. That's what he embodied as a person, as a messenger, as a prophet. He was the best to ever walk the face of the earth. Why would we ever want to be like anyone else? Why would we ever want to implement or bring something new? When we hear all the time that to innovate into the deen of Islam, it is hated. But yet and still, we want to make up things. Yeah, I'm hip. I know some of the things that some of our youngsters get into. You know, like those mock weddings. We heard about it. It's been talked about, right? Has anybody been to anyone lately? Has anyone been to one of the mock weddings lately? Huh? Because is that following Rasulullah? Is that following the Quran? What do they call it? Mock Mindy? Ain't that what they say? I mean, I don't speak Urdu, but you know. Those mock weddings where you don't have a bride or a groom. You're just dancing the night away. Astaghfirullah. Remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He will replace you. Everybody in here is replaceable. Every one of us. Let this be a reminder. Everyone in here is replaceable. If we don't love Allah and we don't love the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, meaning following his way over anyone else's way, then Allah will lead you in the way you want to go. And you will find no help. As a matter of fact, your only helper will be Shaitan. You will be Hizbul Shaitan, not Hizbullah. You will be from the party of Shaitan and not from the party of those who say La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, and they state that upon knowledge and understanding. It's not just words. Knowledge removes ignorance. When you understand what that statement means, you will never want anything else but that statement to resonate through your heart. When you understand who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, you will never call upon anyone other than Allah. When you understand who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, you will never put your trust in the creation of Allah. You will always put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Always.
But understanding is the key. Understanding is the key. Have we asked our children lately? Have we went to them and asked them, what does this statement mean? When we say, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, do we ask our children what this statement means? Or do we leave it up to the imam to send them to the masjid and let the imam sort it out? Do we leave it up to the imam to teach our children how to pray, to teach them how to fast, to teach them how to be men, leaders? That's not necessarily the job of the imam. That's our job as men, as parents, to teach our children the right way, the only way. Make no mistake about it. There is no two ways. It's only one way. It's only one way. La ilaha illallah. That's the only way. To say that none is deserving of worship and truth except Allah. Until then, we will be worshiping other than Allah, depending upon other than Allah, loving other than Allah, and hating what Allah loves, and loving what Allah hates. Opposite of the message. We were created for one purpose and one purpose alone, and that is to worship Allah. There is no other way. We asked this in one of the classes, what is our purpose in life? To some of the new brothers or some of the people who were joining us. And we had to inform them that we have been created for one reason. That is to worship. The question is, how do you carry out that worship? Remember, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was the one sent to teach us. Who's your teacher? Facebook? TikTok? The internet? Sheikh Google? Who's your imam? Who's your teacher? What do we want? Do we want to meet Allah? Or do we want to be dragged on our face to the hellfire? Silenced, not even being able to talk to Allah. It's not enough. Yes, our children, yes, they are. We're facing some dilemmas here. Yeah, we're facing some dilemmas. Question is, what are we going to do about it as a community? And I know this may not bode well, but I'm not here to please anyone. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let this resonate and penetrate We have some construction going on, right? We're going to be building an extension of all-purpose building and a school and all those things, right? These are the things that we're pushing forward. We're trying to do. And a lot of this has a lot to do with our youth. But let's just pause a second. We know that our children, they like to play games more than they like to do anything else, right? We know they're gamers, they're doing all this, they want to have fun. What is fun? And what is success? What are we teaching our children what fun is and what success is? Is success graduating from OU? For some people, yes, it is. Not in my home. Is that success for you? For your child to graduate as an engineer or as a doctor? Not knowing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is? Not even knowing what was revealed that made the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam a prophet? Not knowing what was revealed that made him a messenger? Not knowing that who he is or who his family is? Ask your children these questions. Don't leave it up to the imam to teach them. He's got a lot to teach. You can't teach everything. But let me ask you this. Have you asked your child lately, who was the father of the prophet? Who was the mother? How many children did he have? How many wives did he have? Huh? Did you ask your children this lately? Because you say, when you love someone, that means you know them, right? You know them. How can you say you love someone that you do not know? How? How can you say you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you stand in front of him and you don't know him? I'm asking you this. Ask your children. Ask your children, what do they mean when they bend down and ruku, when they say Subhana Rabbiyal Azim? Ask them what that means and see what they tell you. Ask them what Subhana Rabbiyal A'la means. Just simple stuff like this. We have to make sure that they understand what they're saying and who they're standing in front of, who they're bowing in front of, who they're prostrating in front of. You know why? Because everything is founded upon that, knowing who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. So in the construction of the masjid as we're building, we might need to focus on the school before, the gym, the playground, and the all-purpose building. That's just my opinion, which don't really amount to nothing, right? I'm just a raising head on two sticks. Like I said, I'm not here to appease anyone. If you see some deficiencies, you see something, you have to say something about it. The minute we stop enjoying the good and forbidding the wrong as a community, then Shaitan has us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring about upon us a destruction from a place that you can't even perceive. And we don't want that for our children. We need to start instituting classes of seerah. We need to get back to that. Some of you remember the old days when Dr. Sharif used to give us the tafsir on Fridays, when we used to do this every Friday. Some of you have been here long enough to know that in the old house that we used to have, wasn't a big masjid. When we used to go off into the seerah every week, we need to reinstitute that. More so, because many of our children and our young ones don't even know their history as Muslims. It's a fact. This is a fact. And I'm not here to step on anyone. Sometimes you talk about things that you find deficient in yourself. There's times when I found myself as well standing in front of Allah, reciting the Quran, going over Allah's name, and not even knowing what I'm saying. Well, enough of that. Enough of that. And it starts in our homes. How are we going to read the Quran knowing it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We don't know who he is. How? How many names of Allah do you know? Ask yourself, can you count how many names that you know of Allah? But we say we love Allah. And we say we love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, Rasulullah has more names too, right? He has more than just Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not only does he have more names, ask your child, what is the lineage of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? You see, these are the things that we're brushing up under the rug. Does our children know the lineage of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? These are things that are important, because when history is taken from you, then you feel like you have nothing. You feel like you have nothing. You know, it happened. It happened. You know, when a bunch of blacks was enslaved and they was brought to America, it happens. Language taken, culture taken, religion, deen was taken, everything. To the point to where what? You don't even know who you are. So you'll call yourself what they want you to call yourself, not your real name. Why? Because we've given up. Given up. We've stopped focusing on the things that are important and put emphasis on things that are not important. Like who's graduating next from the college. We need to take a stand, my brothers and sisters, in our community now. Take my word for it. Take my word for it. Take my word for it. As an individual who comes out of pure-cut Jahiliyyah, take my word for it that you do not want to allow your children to fall headlong into the traps of shaitan by which they will get devoured. الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين على امور الدين والدين وصلى الله وسلم على محمد خاتم النبيين وآله وصحبه واجمعين لا حول ولا قوة الا بالله العلي العظيم. My dearly respected brothers and sisters, I hope that what I have to say to you today, it resonates somewhat. Again, I'm not here to hold anyone's feet to the fire, but our children, they look up to us. We're their role models. We're their forebearers. We have to make sure that they know who Allah is. As a matter of fact, just ask yourself, are you confident that if Allah was to take your child as a teenager, as a young man, are you confident that you've instilled in him what he needs in order to answer those three questions in the grave? Who Allah is, what is your deen, and who is the one who came to teach you your deen? Can you answer those questions? Because we can't just answer those questions, my brothers and sisters, without having knowledge. Knowledge that will benefit you now and then. In this life and in the hereafter. Again, I ask you, will you take the time out of your busy schedules just to make sure that your child can answer those three questions? Because everything rests with that. Knowledge of Allah, knowledge of deen, and knowledge of who brought it. That encompasses everything. If we can answer that, then that means we have done our job. But not just answer it, but live it. Live it. And my brothers, we have to start calling our co-workers, our neighbors, our passerbyers, people we pass by. We have to do our job to call them to the deen of Islam. That's our purpose in life as well. Who else is going to do it? You don't have to be a scholar to tell somebody that Allah is one. We have a lot of people who think it's three. All you have to do is say, Qul Allahu ahad. And then the next thing behind that, they will say, well, what does that mean? Then you tell them. It means that Allah is one. Not only is he one, not only is he al-ahad, he's al-awwal. He's al-wahid. He's al-witr. We can go on and on. As a matter of fact, in my home, I challenged, between me and my wife, I challenged who can learn the most names of Allah. And she got me beat. About 80-something names. I'm still probably around 50, if that. So sometimes it starts with you. But those who you call may be better than you. And that may benefit the community as a whole. So my brothers and sisters, just ask yourselves, are we doing our job to make sure that our children have what they need? In order to do what? In order to worship Allah. That's it. That's the crux of the message today. Just ask ourselves, are we doing our job and not putting it on the back of the administration and the imam all the time to do our job for us? No, we should supplement the job that is being done by making sure we continue this stuff in our homes. And if we do that, my brothers and sisters, then hopefully, inshallah ta'ala, we will make a change in our children's lives, and they won't end up at these mock wedding parties dancing the night. Because we know what that leads to, right? Alcohol, drugs, you name it, everything. And you don't want that in your home. So let us protect ourselves and put barriers between our children and this jahiliyyah, this kufr, this destruction, this devil, this shaitan, and not allow it to enter our homes, and let us fortify our homes and our community and ourselves from the call of shaitan, and let us rush to the call of La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد